Welcome in to the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside a very, very special guest for this Week 8 episode of Punt and Pass. It's none other than college football media personality, Chris Marler, my good buddy at Vern Funquist on social media, host of the CFB Uncensored podcast. Again, you can find him at Vern Funquist. We're at Punt and Pass on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Drew Butler, puntandpass.com, the number one destination for all things college football. Chris, this is the unholy alliance, my man. Me and you making it happen. A lot to talk about.
Always with me, most of it emotional. But I was sitting here like when you started the show and introduced me, I just want to know the number of Georgia fans that were like, nope.
Yeah.
No chance.
Look, you're an SEC tastemaker. I had to get you on here. And a lot has happened within the SEC, and we will get to all that. First thing first, though, did you ever think that you would fill in for an SEC champion quarterback, a Rose Bowl champion quarterback, a Sugar Bowl champion quarterback who just signed with the Washington Commanders practice squad? Here you are. Did you ever see this on your career track?
So I actually did a vision board in January, and that was the only thing I put on there. And
yes,
and a lot of people called me delusional, and they were probably right. But look at me now. So no, I was thinking about that when I came on. I was like, I should have come up with like a good punny name to be replacing Jake, but all I could think of was Joke From, and that kind of sucks.
Well, we'll see. Jake hit me up. He's like, hey, I can't do tomorrow's show. I'm going to get with him and see what his schedule's like. But huge shout out to Jake. He's with the Washington Commanders practice squad. Carson Wentz broke his finger. Jake's had a bunch of tryouts in the past couple of weeks. So he is up in the D.C. area. We'll try to get him back on here as soon as possible. But in the meantime, maybe a rotating chair, Chris, depending on how you do. I'll grade you after the show. We'll let our audience speak for itself.
Don't let the audience speak for me, because there's going to be a lot of biased people, and that's going to be some tough takes.
I love it. We can always do that. This episode of Punt and Pass is presented by our awesome partners over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks has been so much fun. This is it, dude. This is like the best time of the year. The NBA is back. Major League Baseball playoffs are going on. College football, it's Wednesday. There's a game later on tonight. We're soon to get into action. We're kicking off Tuesday night games. The NFL, of course. You have to head over to Prize Picks, download the Prize Picks app, use the promo code PUNT. You get a 100% deposit match up to your first $100. You can win 10 times your money in one day. Payouts are instant. And again, if you deposit now using the promo code PUNT, you get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks simply is the best daily fantasy game out there. Download it now. Use the promo code PUNT. Chris, you have been very, very good with your college football picks on social media. You've also been really good with some props. So we're going to get to your prize picks later on in the show.
Love it.
And make sure we can get it rocking. But let's start with 3 and Out. We, of course, go to First Down. These are our top 3 news and storylines around college football. And since you are an Alabama fan, look, there's been so much fallout of this unbelievable Alabama-Tennessee game.
Yeah.
We need to touch on these continued reactions. So just first off, how are you feeling?
So, what's weird, man, is like, I remember, like, because I used to get like super, super into it, right? And I still am. And I hate Auburn. I hate pre-snap penalties. There's very few things that'll make the F word fly out of my mouth faster than that. But I remember my mom saying it to me a while ago. She was like, Chris, like, I'm so proud of you for like handling like losses well. You don't seem to get so overly emotional about it anymore. I'm like, we don't fucking lose. Like what are you talking? Like, I'm getting older, but in the Tennessee game, like, that's a rivalry I grew up with, where Bama lost 7 in a row. Like, and beating them to snap that streak was like one of the best days of my life. And like, so this is like people that are younger, like the younger crowd doesn't. I don't think they get, like, anybody that says if college football is better when Tennessee's back has not been around Tennessee fans long enough.
Okay, so I saw that tweet. I do believe that college football is better when Tennessee is back. Really? Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio took the other side of that. He was like, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But this doesn't make any sense. And you cannot take that from a guy who lives and breathes Kentucky, because Kentucky hate each other. They're playing next week. We'll touch on that briefly. But I do believe college football is better when Tennessee is doing well.
I will say, I don't know if I've avoided them this week or whatever happened, but like the game itself, it was awesome. It was incredibly entertaining. There was a lot of, like, I feel like I'm a pretty objective person, despite what, some people think like my bias is like lean toward, but like Bama, they did everything they could to lose that game and try to, and it seemed like in every single quarter, but like the quarterback play was incredible. Bama had a punt go inside the 10-yard line. That hasn't happened since, I'm pretty sure, 1998. So that was
Yeah.
cool. But no, I think it was like it's so much fun watching this offense for Tennessee because it's so unique the way they set everything up. Like there's not
Yeah.
another offense that's run like that. Like just the way they like the receiver splits and what they do, and they take you out like all the way near the boundary and spread you out. And now I will say I don't think Georgia will struggle as much with the idea of like if that kid scores 5 fucking touchdowns on Georgia, I would be, I don't know what the prop bet would be on that, but it would have to be very
Yeah,
high.
I don't expect that to happen for Jalen Hyatt. I mean, he had 6
No,
catches and 5 touchdowns. It's probably not going to happen again all season long.
no, but
And it happened against Bama, which is just unheard of. It's unbelievable.
it's the only time it's ever happened. So let me throw these like numbers out here for you
Yeah,
real quick,
please.
just to put this in perspective, because like what happens with Bama, and it started to happen with Georgia now too, is like if they play a close game, no matter who it is, no matter Texas sucks, it doesn't matter they have a backup against Texas A&M. You guys heard it with Mizzou and all that kind of stuff. But like you're immediately going to get zero credit for like winning the game or anything like that, right? What Hendon Hooker did to Alabama's defense was it was the only time that they've had quarterbacks that have like a 90 plus QBR, 200 plus passer rating, or like Steven Garcia's in that bunch.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got
Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, Johnny
Whoever
Manziel.
beats Alabama has a career day, simply put.
Yeah, but no one has ever put up the same numbers where you have the level of passer efficiency. He's the highest pass efficiency ever against the saving defense. Throws for 5 touchdowns. He's the only one of 2 quarterbacks that's ever done that against Alabama.
Yeah.
Everything he averaged over, he's 12.8 yards per attempt. It was awesome.
It was the
he just did
perfect
an
day.
incredible job. Yeah.
And, Alabama, 17 penalties against Tennessee, 15 penalties against Texas when that game was so close and still scoring 49 points. I mean, I think that is absolutely amazing. My favorite thing about the Bama fan base is this, though. Now that Tennessee has beaten them, they've crowned Tennessee. Oh, well, Tennessee's definitely going to beat Georgia. Tennessee are these world beaters because they somehow beat Alabama. We'll definitely get a rematch against Tennessee in the SEC
I don't understand that.
game. And it gets me thinking like this. Let me take my podcasting hat off for a second and put my Georgia fan hat on. Seeing the joy that Tennessee fans have, still basking in that joy 5 days later after that unbelievable victory. It's what I felt as a Georgia fan after dethroning Alabama in the national championship.
It's what y'all are feeling right now still.
Yeah, this is the best part. I'm getting to that. The joy that Tennessee fans are feeling, undoubtedly in the back of their head, they're sitting there going, well, even if we do beat Georgia, we're going to have to play Alabama again in the SEC championship. And hopefully we do have a perfect day and they do have 17 penalties and that tipped field goal does go through the uprights. The reason that Georgia fans are simply unbothered at this point is because we beat Alabama and won a national championship. It's like the greatest feeling ever.
You're like, the hay's in the barn, right?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, this is great. I'm playing with house money. It's absolutely unbelievable. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I think Georgia matches up with Tennessee pretty well. And I already saw the look ahead line is Georgia's like a 10.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me, and I think that's probably about right. Like it's just funny the way fans are in general, because I hate this from Bama fans. This the whole thing about like, yeah, you know what? Congrats, man. Congrats on the win. It only took y'all, 15 years and us having a missed field goal and having like 17 penalties. And it was like, Jesus Christ, like don't list the whole thing off. Like,
yeah,
we get it. But all those things definitely did still happen. Side note, that last field goal, I thought it was blocked and I was a little bit drunk. And I was celebrating for several seconds in front of everyone in our house because I thought that we had blocked it. But no, the assumption that Tennessee is going to put up the same amount of points against y'all is stupid because of y'all's defense and the way you guys play. I think that the assumption that y'all are going to be able to like dominate Tennessee necessarily because you're not going to give up that amount of points and the offense is going to do blah, blah, blah. Because the offense has struggled at times and not in a rude way. You guys have not really been tested though. Do you guys get this one at home, or do you get to play it like in your practice facility, like in like shells and stuff? Because
this one is going to be in Sanford Stadium. They're saying it's going to be the highest ranked matchup ever in Athens, which will be awesome. I certainly don't think Georgia will dominate. I think it'll be a great football game. What are your thoughts on the tweet about the comparisons? I think Peter Burns, Barrett Sallee the
Oh
comparisons
my
between
God.
2022 Tennessee and 2019 LSU. Okay, look, I know Tennessee's having a great year and I'm proud of them. I'm happy for them.
Right.
But that team was annihilating teams 2019 LSU. They did not have to, go to overtime against Pitt. They didn't go down to the wire
Right.
against Florida. I think there was a little bit, what do they call it? Thief of the moment or
Yeah, prisoner of the moment.
prisoner of the moment. Yeah, thief
Well,
of
that
the moment.
Florida game
Prisoner
was
of the
actually
moment.
pretty close, but that's no. What's funny about that is that like I remember that was 2018. Like I saw that and I was like, no, 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 no. We're not like again. I've been a band fan my whole life, and I work in media, and I try to be as objective as possible and just be transparent about it. But like 2019 LSU is the best college football team I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And when you played that offense, and you guys got to see it, you guys actually played them probably the best defensive team in the
37 to
country.
10. Yeah, you look
It
back and
was
you're like, that actually wasn't that bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean Auburn was, they were the one that kept them under like I think 30 points, something crazy. But I remember like going into that game, and especially with like the Bama game specifically against them, you just get this feeling that like it's almost a little bit like how the old Gus Malzahn offenses would be if they were rolling, where it's
Couldn't
like
stop
Jesus
them.
Christ, like
Yeah.
it's just the tempo's so high and you can't get a stop, and they've got fucking talent everywhere, and you've got
Everywhere.
talent everywhere, but it's like just anyway, but like no, Tennessee is not that. They are not that.
Yeah.
Maybe with Cedric Tillman's closer, but that defense is not that.
I would agree with you there. So let's slow our roll in that comparison. We'll see how Tennessee continues to trend. A lot of people are already circling the Kentucky game. Could that be a look ahead spot? Kentucky's got a bye week to get ready to scheme up their defense. Jordan Rodgers put that out in the air after the Mississippi State Kentucky game. He was like, listen, and again, that's a Vandy guy. You got to take that with a grain of salt. He doesn't like Tennessee, but he said, what I just saw from Kentucky limiting Mississippi State's passing attack with a bye week, I'll be interested to see how they match up against Tennessee. So we, of course, will keep our eyes on that. Let's just touch on the referees real quick, and then we'll get into second down. As a Bama fan, you guys obviously think that.
Don't say you guys. Don't put me in the.
I'm putting you in there because I was going at it on Twitter. I'm like, anybody with half a brain knows that for 10 plus years, Bama has gotten all the calls.
That's so.
If you want to go, it is real. It's statistically.
It's statistically not real.
That is false. That is false.
hate. So here's what I hate cliches
false.
so much.
That is false.
Hold on. This is what drives me crazy. If it's a factual statement, I totally get it. But what ends up happening between Georgia and Bama fans is instead of looking up the numbers on it, I think you did this the other day. Like you tweet out pictures of, look at this thing. And I get all that. I'm not saying Bama hasn't gotten away with some calls. I'm saying for that to be this continued response of now in 2022 when they are. For another season, like for the second, it seems like third straight year. And by the way, I think since like 2019, they've had far less penalty yards per game their opponents have. They're ranked dead last in the country right now, and a lot of that's their own fault.
Yes.
But have you ever seen 5 penalties called in 3 plays?
Well, look, I hate referees. I mean, that's very well documented.
Yeah.
So I'm coming at it from the angle that I think all referees are really bad at their job and they should be held accountable. I mean, when you're looking at the game last weekend and the pass interference call that wasn't called, I mean, I'm like, hold on a second. How do you mess up?
40-yard line.
I know. But also on that same play, Bryce Young was clearly face masked and there was no penalty thrown. So I'm sitting there going, what is going on in the heat of the moment, though, in the biggest moments of the game? Undoubtedly. I mean, if you want to bust out holding calls for bottom line statistics,
I'm glad
bring
you brought
that all
up.
day. I'm talking about game-changing calls, 100,000% unanimously swing into Alabama's favor.
Okay, well, let me just say this real quick. Let me just tell you some objective reasons why you're wrong about that. For the second week in a row, Alabama got an interception in the end zone that would seal the deal, right? And on both of those, they got another play.
Yes.
I'm not saying they weren't.
I agree.
I'm also saying in that moment, that seemed like a pretty big call to make. And if you couldn't get the flag out of your pocket until the 40-yard line, the other thing I will say is Bryce Young. I think this admittedly was because I saw Tom Brady earlier in the week beat Tom Brady and get that call. And you have the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback coming off an injury. I'm not saying he should ever get preferential treatment, and he didn't even need it. He was tough as shit that entire game.
There's no consistency. That's the most frustrating part. I 100% agree with you on that.
They took a review for that and still didn't call it. But the thing you brought up about like holding, you can call holding on every play. That right there is just beautiful. You brought it up because you know how many holding calls have been called against Bama's opponents this year?
Zero.
Come
on.
That is a real stat.
That cannot be true.
It was on Twitter, so you know it's real. I told it to Connor O'Gara this morning. He immediately went to go look it up. But like, how do you have that? with Will Anderson and Chris Braswell and all that. So I'm just saying it may have been right for a
Look, I
decade.
agree.
We're in a new
Welcome
age
to
now.
then you know what I said to that Bama fan on Twitter? Welcome to the world, man. That's what
Yeah.
we've all been living in. So
Thanks a
if
lot,
that's
Bin
the
Laden.
case, then yeah, then you're right back to where all of us have been having to deal with it. But simply put, 15, 17 penalties against Alabama. That's nobody's fault but their own. And Nick
Yeah.
Saban even addressed these. Like, we got to fix this. This is not typical Alabama football. Enough about Alabama.
Yeah, for sure.
That
Also,
was
real quick,
fun.
let me just say this to make
Yes,
you happy
please.
about this. Like the reason why Bama fans get so upset about it is one, because they're not used to seeing it, right? And not used to getting their way a
Yes,
little
of
bit.
course.
And then two, they also know that they're not good enough to overcome that. And they
Yeah.
haven't been for the last 2 years. And that's one thing that tip my cap to Kirby. Y'all are currently number one in the conference in fewest penalties. Also, Tennessee was actually ranked behind Alabama a week ago, but we dominated that. So
you need to be sound, man, especially when you don't have a firepower offense. Again, I said it last Monday. I was
Mhm.
like, dude, 49 points with 17 penalties is almost unheard of.
Right.
All right, let's go to second down. It's a little
Yeah.
midseason report. It's week 8. I can't believe it's already
Sucks,
here. It
man.
like almost is depressing. You're like, how could college football be going by this fast? But a couple of things of note, there's 9 undefeated teams that are remaining, Chris. Georgia and Tennessee, they will play each other. Syracuse and Clemson, they play each other this weekend. We'll get to that. Ohio State and Michigan, they will play each other. Ole Miss in the SEC West, TCU, UCLA round out the undefeated teams. So as of right now, there will be a lot of dominoes to fall here in the remaining weeks. But I want to know what your biggest surprise is. That could be a player, team, coach, or moment. Best game. I think we're probably going to be simpatico on our choice for best game of the season so far.
God,
but ultimately, dude, I think the College Football Playoff Committee is about to be in a world of hurt, and I, for one, love it.
Yeah, anytime they or the NCAA can squirm, I love it. But I tell you what does worry me is that it seems like whenever they are put to a tough decision on who to take,
what do they default to?
Notre Dame or fucking Ohio State, like just
Texas
like whatever.
could sneak in there with 2 losses. Watch out! I already saw some ESPN articles hinting at that possibility. I'm like, people, they will defer and they will resort to a brand name. They will resort to somebody who will help the TV ratings.
Exactly.
They will resort to something that will
Business.
excite the public. Exactly.
Right.
Of course.
So I think like there's honestly, and we saw this early in the year too. You see it more and more like with all the upsets and stuff like that. But like, because everyone wants to bitch because the 3 most dominant teams, and really this season, the 2 most dominant teams, Ohio State and Georgia, it's like, you just have, it's a foregone conclusion they're going to get there. Right. I like, there's been so much more parity in college football this year. It's been so much fun, man.
Yeah.
The biggest surprise for me, I want to say UCLA, just because we heard about USC so much, but I think that they had a lot coming back, and it's about time Chip Kelly did something.
Yeah, it's good to see. That's fun to see also in college football when a Chip Kelly offense gets rolling.
Yeah, but the one for me is TCU. That's only because
Sonny they fired Dykes first year, Max Duggan.
Yeah, and he's been great, and like they weren't great last year. They got rid of Gary Patterson, who was just Kirby Smart, 30 years older. They look the exact same. And then he showed up for work the next Monday. Like he was like, well,
so did Jeff Collins. That is so did Jeff Collins. He's like, hey, I'm gonna be here. Whatever I could do to make sure that my buyout can't be rescinded, I'm showing my ass up to work.
Sir, this is a Waffle House and you're drunk. You got to get out of here. Exactly. No, that's mine. Who's yours?
Syracuse is going to get beat this weekend bad. I would say Dino Babers, hat tip to those guys. Tommy DeVito. DeVito's at Illinois now, so that's not right. But
same college team.
After last weekend, dare I say Michigan, with the quarterback set up at the beginning of the year, they lost a lot. They dominated Penn State. I think they got the monkey off their back in a big way last year, overcoming Ohio State, winning the Big Ten championship, kind of got the reality check in the college football playoff, but they have reloaded. I don't think they're scared of Ohio State heading in late to the later parts of this year. So I would, I'd pick Michigan as biggest surprise. And obviously we're leaving out the obvious pick right now, which is Tennessee. People expected Tennessee to be well, but I don't think they expected it at this type of excitement. So that'd be my biggest surprise from a team perspective, coach perspective. You just mentioned it. Sonny Dykes, Chip Kelly, Heupel, of course, you got to go there. But
I tell you what, man, and again, and I swear to you, I try to be as objective as possible every time. But even watching that game, the moment Heupel got done talking and they played Dixieland Delight, that guy deserves just a lifetime contract.
Man. Song about Tennessee. That's what people say.
That's right. I would say mine is probably Heupel just because he's like in year two, and think about all the stuff he had to face, man. All the stuff he had to face it was so much. But another one too is Brett Bielema up at Illinois. Not
Yeah,
just
they're
because he's still
absolutely.
alive and hasn't had a any like what do you call it, like heart bypass surgery or whatever it's called. That
Yeah,
was a very
yeah,
medical. But also they have the number one defense in the country. They're ranked right ahead of Georgia. So those two defensive
that's
minds just
awesome.
trading blows from across the country.
Best moment. I'll go a little bit off the wall here, and I'll just say is recency bias, but I stayed up late and watched Utah go for two against
Yeah.
USC with no time left. I mean, talk about affecting the college football playoff in a big way. Utah, nothing to lose. Already have 2 losses on the season. At home, they give USC a loss, and that could pay off big time for some other team in that first weekend of December when selection day comes down. Because if USC wins that game on the road, they're cooking with Crisco heading down the pipe in the
Oh
Pac-12,
God.
looking for some opportunities to sneak into the playoff. That moment right there, Utah going for two, will have huge college football
Yeah.
playoff implications, no question.
The USC's just they're gonna be like Notre Dame's like cool lesbian aunt that moved out to California that I'm like, all right, I guess but like I'm just so over it. They're the same team, and I'm so over it already with Lincoln Riley. I don't know my favorite moment because I mean the Texas game, I was glad that was over for sure. That
That
was
was a great game. Week 2 hit us right in the face at noon. I said this too, not to steal your thunder, but
you're
I
good.
thought the big noon coverage with Gus and Joel Klatt,
It's
I thought it was
awesome.
phenomenal. I was like, this is great production,
And the
great
numbers are good
announcing.
too.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's great.
Yeah, jog my memory like I just any what have I missed here? Because I think all I keep thinking about is gambling wins. So I think
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, Alabama, obviously huge. That's
that
best
was
game of the
fun.
year by far up to this point. There's no question about it.
The Arkansas game when Bryce went down and that wasn't very fun though. That
Just a
wasn't very
big
fun.
time comeback. Yeah, for sure.
Some of those Auburn games have been very entertaining. I'll say that. But yeah, I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it.
LSU, Florida State
Oh,
in week 0 or week 1 was great.
you know what it was for me? It was when App State hosted game day after beating A&M,
And they
and then
won
they
that Hail
had the Hail
Mary.
Mary, and then Chase Bryce, who's going to be a country singer someday with that name, he's helping people down from the stands
It's
during the
awesome.
celebration. Like, it's like the best dude ever.
Yeah, yeah. Best moment too, or worst moment could be Jermaine Burton slapping that chick in the face on the field. I mean, watch out, guy. You can't do that. Can't
No,
do
no, you
that,
can't do that in
Jermaine.
any capacity. You can't
No,
hit a woman. No,
no.
I just, this kid is, I don't care how this sounds. I didn't want him in the first place. And I just don't feel like he's really doing a lot to fit in there.
Yeah, yeah. What Coach say? I want to know what Coach Saban said about that one because when there's video receipts, it's tough to
Yeah.
talk out of that one, man. And she was like just walking by. She didn't like raise her hand or swing at him with her purse. She was
Any of those
simply
things
walking
still would have
by.
not warranted that.
I,
Like, I mean,
I
you
agree.
you have a helmet with you and pad. So I've tweeted this today and it's just sadly true. But like, if you would have told me he was going to not have 1,000 yards receiving, I would have believed that. But if you had told me the biggest thing he was going to catch in Tuscaloosa was a case, I did not think it was going to be that.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So we'll see what happens there. I'll be interested. Him and Draymond Green, getting loose with the fists, no
Just two
doubt.
great locker room guys. I hope
Yeah,
Saban brings both of them in the transfer portal.
absolutely. All right, let's go to third down. It's the bye week for Georgia. So we'll touch on the importance and timing of a bye week. I read some great articles earlier this morning. Mike Griffith, Dog Nation, shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
He dove into Kirby's mindset on the bye week and how the coaching staff at Georgia attributed their success last year to winning a
Yeah.
national championship as to what they did in the bye week. 1, get
Tendencies.
healthy. 2, get guys off their feet. 3, go back and look at what went really well in the first 7 games, but then address what hasn't gone well and utilize those first 3 to 4 practice days to try to fix those things. Tomorrow, which will be Thursday, they'll start looking towards Florida. And then you have the opportunity to take the weekend off, get guys even healthier, and really focus on the second half of the season. Georgia's second half of the season, Chris, it's a bear. There's no question about it. They'll beat Florida. Kirby has a really good handle on this rivalry, which
Yeah, he does.
I feel really good about. I know Billy Napier in his first year has been up and down, but then it's home versus Tennessee, at Mississippi State, at Kentucky. Giddy up. That's your whole season right there.
Yeah, you got a tough 3-week stretch there for sure. But I tell you what, man, like what I love about as much as I bicker with Georgia fans, I respect the shit out of the program so much and what Kirby's built. Because and I remember the day they fired Mark Richt, I was cracking up because I was like, typical Georgia. They're gonna the 10 wins wasn't good enough. And I was like, oh shit, they're gonna get Kirby. And here we are. And I think that The one thing about Kirby that I think is so underrated and not talked about enough, because everyone, when they first talk about him, it's finally starting to change now that he won the Natty, but like it's always, yeah, he was the longtime defensive coordinator for Nick Saban. It's like this dude has built his own identity, his own way he's going to run a program, which is different than how Saban's doing it, and arguably better in a lot of ways in terms of. I worry about like with college football coaches, like in this day and age, with like the way recruiting is, and like the way it's a never-ending cycle with transfer portal and the early signing period and all this other stuff. You have to really like have like a strong work ethic and enjoy what you're doing. And Kirby, in a very short amount of time as a head coach, has figured out a way to do all of that at not just an elite level, but like the top level in the country. And he's just he has his hand in so many things, but he's on top of all of it. And the fact
you know what Kirby's biggest advantage over Nick Saban is?
he's young.
Yes, time.
Yeah.
Can't buy time. He's younger than Nick Saban.
I mean,
that is it. That is it. 100%.
Saban said last year, he's like, I can't pull those all-nighters anymore. I got to sleep in on Sundays. And I was like, can you not fucking say stuff like that, please?
Yeah, but Kirby, don't say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah. Kirby, I genuinely think this, like, I think he will probably end up with the same amount of titles because he still has like,
so?
Not in the same amount of time, but he's going to have like 30 or 40 years.
That makes me feel good. I love hearing that.
I hate it. Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, the guy is relentless. He has taken all of those things that made Alabama so great for so long and implemented them at a very high level at Georgia. And what you just said about Coach Rick, I mean, I remember the day Coach Rick got fired. It was 2015. We were playing in San Francisco. After the game, I had all my texts like Coach Rick just got fired. It might have been January 2016. I shot him a text. He texted me right back, and everybody knew you were going to get Kirby. That could have backfired in a big way. Look at Scott Frost. Look at right now. I was thinking the other day, obviously Oklahoma was in a different situation because Lincoln Riley was playing so well. But do you think Oklahoma would like to have Josh Heupel right now? You bet your ass they would. Now, what I'm saying is the sweetheart story of bringing a Letterman home to coach their alma mater does not always work out. And in Georgia's case, it has worked out magnificently, which has been awesome. And like for me, when I get to go back around the program, or Jake, when he is living in Athens and gets to go into Buttsmere and work out and stay in shape for another NFL opportunity, like Kirby gets it. He was one of us. So like he tailors all these Letterman activities to around what guys like us would want to do. And dude, it is awesome. I'm not saying it wasn't awesome when Coach Rick was there. I was obviously playing, but going back now, like that brotherhood, that camaraderie, it's fantastic. And you'll like this. We went back for our Letterman luncheon during the second scrimmage of fall camp this year. And Coach John Casey, who's been there for 50 years, an absolute legend at Georgia, I went up and was saying hello to him, and it was packed, dude. Beautiful Saturday. And they've got barbecue and beer for us. We're hanging out, watching practice. I was like, Coach Casey, pretty good turnout, huh? He was like, hey, Coach, how many guys you think would be here if we went 2-10 last year? I go, it's a good point. He's like, everybody loves a winner. I go, now that is true. Obviously, Georgia alumni are going to support always and forever, but it's a good time to be a dog right now. There's no doubt about it.
As much as I hate to hear that out loud, it's so sorry about that. My dogs agree as well, but it's so spot on. Like I kind of, like Athens is the best college city in the country, and Jesus Christ, what they're doing and like what they're building, like it is different than anything else you've seen in the country. And it is fun to watch from the outside. I was telling my buddy about this last night. It was like, I remember sitting there watching it, like almost like just like a drunk, like if you were drunk, like thinking about your ex. And I was watching y'all play Kentucky last year. I was like, God, they're so disciplined on defense, and they're so fundamentally sound. And the other thing too about
what could have been,
the passion that he has is so real, like so genuine. That's why I think one of the reasons Coach O is good for a very short time, and people love Sam Pittman because they care about those programs. Kirby loves Athens, and especially now that he has such ownership over what he's been able to build, it is fun to watch.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Bye weeks are always fun as well. You get away. I'm sure Jake has gone hunting or fishing on his bye week. One of my favorite stories is this. I think you'll like this as well, Chris. 2009. Usually the third Saturday in October is a little bit later, which coincides with the week before Florida, Florida. 2009, we were off. I was going to see my now wife, Jackie, in Tuscaloosa. So she was Zeta at Tuscaloosa. I get into T-Town. We went to Alabama against Tennessee, student section, and it was the Mount Cody block.
That's awesome.
That game? It was
Yeah.
a great game. And they were kicking into the end zone in which we were sitting. And I think Tennessee had one field goal blocked
They had it
already.
6 minutes earlier than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The same guy, Mount Cody.
Cody's blocking this field goal. No way. Yes, he is. SWAT. Great. I mean, huge win
Yeah.
inside Bryant Denny. That's one of my favorite bye week stories. Get out of Athens.
Right.
Go be with your family, or go be with your significant other, and just get away from football. Be safe, but get away from football, and then get back and lock in. So always good to get the bye week going. Hopefully the dogs stay on top of their P's and Q's this weekend, because they got some business to take care of when they get back. Speaking of taking care of business, though, Chris, let's get some money, dude. Let's go to our Prize picks of the week. Again, download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code PUNT, P-U-N-T, PUNT. You get a 100% deposit match up to your first $100. What we have been doing all season long is the hashtag Bet the From. So Jake will put together an entry and he will pick quarterbacks. He's been going over on everything. He almost hit a 4-bagger the other week, which would have been big for your boy.
Yeah.
But we missed out, I think, by 1 completion or 10 passing or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and forth with you. We're going to look at the board. And I'm going to call this the hashtag DB's freebie. You like that?
I don't get
DB's freebie. Free
Why?
pick, dude.
Oh, Drew Butler.
Money.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, knock.
So our sponsor is Texas Pete, and we've been saying, I jokingly said that I was on a Peter instead of a heater, and I just tell you what, what that insinuates has not been good for me with our listeners.
Yeah, you need to be a little bit more careful with that one. Absolutely. A big game in Red Stick this weekend. Ole Miss heading down to LSU. This is a good rivalry, an SEC West rivalry. Ole Miss undefeated. LSU playing with some mojo right now. Jackson Dart, over or under, Chris, 220 and a half passing yards.
Under. Yeah. He had I don't know how he even managed three touchdowns last week. He had like a Dan Uggles stat line. He was like 9 of 19 for 120 yards and had 3 touchdowns. I don't get it.
They run the ball a lot, Ole Miss does.
Yeah, I see. I worry a little bit about their identity. I was like really high on them early on because they were doing on both sides of the ball with like their defense and they get after the quarterback pretty well too. But that offensive line has allowed the least amount of sacks in the SEC, so he'll have time. But like I don't know how you go from Vandy where you set a program record for receiving yards in one game, and then that kid didn't have a target until the third quarter in the following game. So that kind of like and they're very different in the second half of games than they are in the first half. One of my favorite bets every week is Ole Miss first half, Ole Miss team total in the first half. But
okay, I like that.
But yeah, I would take the under in that.
Okay, excellent. On the flip side, Jaden Daniels, who's been really allowed to kind of sling the ball around now in that LSU offense, over or under 240 and a half passing yards.
I'm going to say over, just because we saw what Tulsa did to Ole Miss as well, and that's one of the best passing offenses in the country. But if they could do that, and they're, like it's weird. It's a weird world we live in right now that like this is the second team that's going to Baton Rouge, and it's just a foregone conclusion to I think like most people that they're just going to lose.
Yeah,
like that. You know what I mean? So and they did the first one, but
good point.
It's just bizarre. But I would say he's at I felt bad for him last week, man, because he had the Hendon Hooker and Bryce Young show, and then KJ Jefferson puts up 5 touchdowns out there in Mormon country.
Yeah.
And this kid just puts up 6 touchdowns in the night game. But I would take over for that.
Over Jaden Daniels, 240 and a half passing yards. Alabama missed state. We'll get to that in here just a second. Bryce Young, 325 and a half passing yards.
Oh, God. I guess I would take the under.
I think so, too. That's a lot.
They had the 4th ranked rushing offense in the country going into Tennessee, and then Bill O'Brien forgot to do that in pretty key moments. But also, Bright, they don't push the ball down the field well.
They don't have the same perimeter weapons that they had a year ago.
Right. No, you have Jermaine Burton, who has his fists are weapons, apparently. So, no, I think like they'll probably try to get back to the running game. And the other thing is too, Bama's a little bit banged up. Like Jahmyr Gibbs got a shoulder thing like a couple weeks ago. And, Bryce is, I don't know. He looked fine last week, but you don't want to be throwing it deep like constantly. So,
yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs, 100 and a half rushing yards.
Damn it. I'm so mad at myself about this, man. They had his total at 64 and a half and 69 and a half and then 80 and a half for the last 3 weeks. And I didn't jump on any of them.
Yep.
I would take the
and a half.
I'd take the over. Do you have a combined total? Because Prize Picks says that, and it's my favorite.
Yeah.
They have like the rushing and receiving.
Rushing and receiving yards. Let's see if Jameer 140.5.
Oh, they caught up to it. So no, I wouldn't take that. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to go
No.
over 100.5 rushing yards. And lastly, Will Rogers 305.5 passing yards against Alabama's defense.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna tell you. This is your best nugget of the day for
Please.
stats and betting and stuff like that, especially with Will Rogers. That seems like such a freebie bet because of what just happened a week ago, in Bama's secondary and all that kind of stuff. But in the 2 years that Mike Leach has been at Mississippi State, and Bama's played him last year coming off the loss against A&M, for whatever reason, Pete Golding, he's not great at a lot of things, but he's great apparently against the air raid. They've outscored him 90-9. They haven't scored a touchdown yet, and they haven't put up over 300 yards in either game.
Oh,
take the under.
Lovely. All right, dude. Chris Marler coming in hot. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could put together a 5-pick hashtag DB's freebie.
Yeah.
And again, DB is because my name is Drew Butler. Thanks
just
for
put that
catching
together.
Up to that one. But we're going to go under Jackson Dart, 220.5 passing yards. Over Jaden Daniels, 240.5 passing yards. Bryce Young, under 325.5 passing yards. Will Rogers, under 305.5 passing yards. And Jahmyr Gibbs, over 100.5 rushing yards. That's the hashtag DB's freebie.
Love it.
You can flex it if you want. Go 4 out of 5. I feel good. Chris is bringing
some flex it because I don't like the Jahmyr Gibbs pick.
Yeah, you can flex that and use the hashtag, or excuse me, use the promo code PUNT, P-U-N-T, PUNT. You get a 100% deposit match up to your first $100. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Let's go inside the 5 real quick. I'll give you the line. You tell me who you like. And of course, we will keep receipts on these picks.
Love it.
Start in the ACC. My boy Sean McDonough and Todd Blackledge. They are on this game at noon on ABC. Number 14, Syracuse taking on number 5, Clemson. Clemson's a 13.5 point favorite. That's a huge number. The total is 49.5.
It's at Syracuse, you said?
No, it's at Clemson.
Oh, I would probably take Clemson. I don't know if Syracuse has even played a road game this year. And nor should they. Like we should start making some concessions here for like some of these teams that are like let Tech just play on Thursday nights by themselves.
Yeah.
It can't get any worse. And let them play in the Carrier Dome, I guess, all the time. I would take Clemson. I think that this game has been pretty close, like multiple times over the last like 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
And Syracuse actually jumped up and got them, I think, in 2017. But they're playing with fire up there with some of the ways they've been able to win and going on the road to Clemson. This is like a game where Dabo can come out and sprint down the hill in his khakis and prove a point.
I totally agree. I think this is a game where Clemson can flex their muscles, relying on Will Shipley in the run game. Brian Breesy, if healthy, which I believe he is, and that defensive line should be able to get after Syracuse's offense. And you just said it. It's kind of smoke and mirrors with how Syracuse has been winning some of these games. This one could get a little ugly. Mm-hmm. What a great environment it's going to be. I'll lay the 13.5 as well with Clemson. So Chris and I are on the same side. Number 7, Ole Miss, heading to Death Valley, the other Death Valley, to take on LSU. This is your 3:30 p.m. CBS game. LSU's a 2-point favorite at home right now. The total is 68. You know what's weird? I was hearing this earlier today. Is like all the people in the Central Time Zone call it the 2:30 game. It's just weird. It's the 3:30 CBS game. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've been thinking that for years. Also, the Central Time Zone is God's country. That's a much better time zone than what we got stuck with.
Mountain Time Zone, though, when I lived in Arizona, dude, it's the best. Mountain Time Zone, when you get the 2-hour change during the winter months and then the 3-hour change, dude, it's phenomenal. But I just
anything but New York, because only thing I know about that place is from TRL back in high school, and it would just get dark at like 3:30 in the afternoon. It sounds awful.
Yeah, that's a great throwback.
I would take
Carson Daly.
The line opened with Ole Miss being favored, which they're number 7 in the country. It changed within the day.
Wow.
By like 4 points. There's a stat about Brian Kelly being at home and favored since he's been at Notre Dame, and it's something stupid like 45-12. I think that was what it was before the Florida State game. Granted, I just told you he lost that game, but I think that I think you might get a situation where Ole Miss might be looking ahead a little bit and reading their own press clippings. And that game last week was not an enjoyable, comfortable win for them.
Yeah.
So I think LSU's going to jump up and get somebody. This was probably their best opportunity.
So you're going to lay the 2 with LSU.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I'll go on the opposite side here. Look, Ole Miss, I had them as one of my overs before the season started. I think their win total was 7.5 or 8.5.
Jesus.
I saw their early schedules, like they should be
Yeah.
6-0 or 7-0. Then they'll just have to take one game, with maybe they shouldn't. I like them here. I think they're focused on the road. I like your stat about how fast they start and how many
Yeah.
points they score. I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
I
I'll
like
just
that.
take the 2 points. I think they could
Yeah.
run the ball, kind of quiet down Death Valley. Obviously, LSU is going to try to make what happened against Tennessee not happen again, but I'll go on the opposite side here.
That's not a
Come to
bad
the
pick.
sip, dude.
I look at the totals though in the first half at
I
some
will.
point, because that'll be that's always really good money.
Big matchup in the Pac-12. Undefeated number 9 UCLA going to Autzen Stadium to take on the 10th ranked Oregon Ducks. 3:30 p.m. on Fox. Oregon's a 6-point favorite. The total 70.5 points.
All right, so I don't know if I've been beating the drum for this kid for more than I ever thought I would.
Bo Nix.
Do you know what Bo Nix has done since you guys ruined his life for
Yeah,
like a fourth consecutive
he's
year?
picked it up in a big way.
He's 73% completion. He's averaging 270 passing yards a game, 335 total yards per game, has 20 total touchdowns and only one interception.
Good for
He's
him.
he's at home. He doesn't have to play you guys for a while. He just got as far away from Georgia as possible. Honestly, Oregon's played pretty good football. They also do pretty well early in the first quarter of games and jump out early. So does UCLA though. UCLA away from home. I don't think I've seen that scenario yet. They've
No,
had
you haven't.
that's a very common theme this year for some reason in college football. And in the first trip on the road, you saw actually with Washington going to UCLA, like I don't know what it is about Autzen that is so makes it so loud. It seems that whole state's just a giant nap with bad personalities in it. But like I think that Oregon, they're coming off a bye as well. I think that they're going to put it on them.
Yeah, UCLA's 2 big wins versus ranked teams, both at home in the Rose Bowl, which is obviously a very sleepy environment, depending on
Jam
what time
packed.
of day they're going to play and who they're playing
It's like
against.
an abandoned Blockbuster Video.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Oregon should have plenty of confidence, though. At home, they're battle tested. UGA obviously showed them who was boss in week 1, but then, of course, they had a lot of success against BYU at home in week 3.
Yeah.
I like Oregon here as well. I'll lay the 6. We're on the same side there. Let's go to the Big 12. We're touching all the bases here. Number 20, Texas, with Quinn Ewers back at the helm. At number 11, Oklahoma State, who just lost that nail biter to TCU. Again, another 3:30 kickoff on ABC. Texas is a 6.5-point favorite. The total 61.
I want you to hear what you just said out loud because I was even shocked as much as I
Texas
tried
is a
to
six and
beat
a
the
half
drum.
point favorite.
6.5
Yeah.
points on the road. Like,
yeah, Spencer Sanders dealing with an injury. Mike Gundy as an underdog, very, very impressive against the spread. And coming back up after that loss, like Oklahoma State still has a pathway to the Big 12 title game. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. Just give me the points here.
So I feel like I have to say Texas because I've been trying to lead that parade all year, just for Bama's strength of schedule purposes. I do think that like they struggled a week ago on the road against Iowa State. Actually, that was at home, but like they struggled a week ago against Iowa State, which kind of concerns me because you thought they had it rolling after the Oklahoma thing. I just don't like Derek Mason's defense there, and they give up a lot of points at bad times. A lot of points in the second half. I love Sark with like a healthy just set of like 5 stars and talent on that offense. I'm going to take Texas against my better judgment.
Points. All right. He's going with Texas laying the big number of 6.5.
That's terrible.
All right. Let's wrap this thing up. Number 24, Mississippi State, heading to Bryant-Denny to take on the 6th ranked, which just sounds dirty to say, the 6th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Look, Alabama's a 21-point favorite. The total 16.
Are they really 21 points?
21-point favorite.
You know what's happened the last 3 times they've been a 21-point favorite?
They've won by like 1 point.
No, yeah. Texas, Auburn, and A&M.
Interesting trend there. Interesting trend there. Yeah, I'll double check again. But right before we jumped on, I made sure of the line. But go ahead and give me your thoughts on a 21-point favorite of Alabama at home at night against Mississippi State. I was not exactly 100% aware of just how much they've dominated Mike Leach since he's been in Starkville.
I was very excited about like being confident in this pick until you brought up that exact number, and now I'm just completely mind fucked. But no, I think so. Like in games since 2008, where Bama has come off a regular season loss, they have won those games by an average of 25.6 points per game. There's only one time that it's happened where they've come back and looked as bad the week before, and that was when they played
Yeah.
Arkansas, like been beaten by 1, like 2014. I don't know if this team is mentally there to do that. But also the thing is, like Mississippi State, it's not a similar offense. So I know they throw the ball over the field, but they don't do what Tennessee does. And
Yeah.
they put up a lot of like passing yards, but it's all stuff that it's kept in front of you. Thank God,
Yes.
because that is not what
Rush
our
3,
defensive backs
drop
like to
8.
do. Right. And
Yes.
so again, Pete Golding, he's held that offense to under 300 yards in each year. They have not scored a touchdown. They're outscoring 90-9. I would take Bama.
And when you say that, it's not like Mississippi State and their offensive attack can get overly creative and just throw a bunch of new stuff at you. Like it's
Right.
the Mike Leach offense. Like what it is what you will get. So
Yeah.
I would have to lean towards Alabama and lay the points as well. I don't think I've picked the right side of Alabama all season long. I
Thank you for
was
that.
wrong last week. I
Yeah.
laid the points. I said, hey, if Bryce Young's playing, they should take care of business. I thought it'd be too big of a spot, but coming back home again, everything's still out in front of Alabama. Like they can win the SEC West,
Yeah.
get back into the SEC championship game and make it happen, but they've got to fix the turnovers, the penalties,
So
stuff that
bad.
Bama has just not done in the past. I mean, muffed punts, missed field goals. Watch out. I'll lay the 21 though. Mississippi
Yeah.
State, I think, is a bit fraudulent. And I'm like not even Georgia, like not even worried about going
No.
to Starkville in mid-November. I'm like, no, that's not going to be a test. So
So before last weekend, my favorite weekly pick this every single week was Mississippi State to score first, win the first quarter, win the first half. And I thought it was a lock against Kentucky because they were awful in the first
yeah.
half, but I think they put up like 3 total points and it was like totally different. But they do score a lot early when they're on script. We'll see if Bama can get their shit together. But
We certainly will see. Well, thanks for doing Inside the Five, my man, giving us your top 5 against the spread picks on the biggest games
dude,
of the weekend. Really appreciate you filling in for my man Jake Fromm right here on the Week 8 episode of Punt and Pass. Be sure to download the Prize Picks app. We gave you a hashtag DB's freebie. That's 5 picks.
that's
I'd
good.
flex it if I were you. Use the promo code PUNT. You get a 100% deposit match up to your first $100. You can win up to 10 times your money in one day, and payouts are instant. What is better than that? There's so many sports on right now. They're all available on Prize Picks, so get in there immediately. Be sure to use the promo code PUNT. Follow Chris at Vern Funquist on social media. You are thought-provoking. You are instigating. You are a tastemaker. You're all of those things. And this has been the Unholy Alliance, man. You and I teaming up together to give some podcasting content out to the SEC masses.
I love it, man. We gotta do it. We have to do it again soon. Listen, I think we did it last year to spark the rest of the second half of the season for you guys. So we'll do it again sometime soon.
I love it. Absolutely. Be sure to follow us on social media at Punt and Pass on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Drew Butler. Puntandpass.com. We'll have our YouTube video up there, our picks from this week as well. I'll link Chris's stuff. CFB Uncensored. Check that out on YouTube as well. Chris, thanks so much, my man.
Of course, dude. I'll see you soon.
All right. We will talk to you on Monday. See you.
I don't know. That's if you love.